All right, let's talk about the job interview. For so many of us, it's this super stressful thing, right? A test. But what if we've been looking at it all wrong? What if we could reframe it, not as a test, but as a strategic conversation where you actually get to show who you are?
So let's start with that. What is a job interview, really? It's so easy to fall into the trap of thinking it's just a technical quiz, that you have to have all the right answers. But honestly, that misconception can cost you the job before you even get started. The real purpose is so much deeper.
And get this, here's a stat from HR experts that might surprise you. Only about 30% of what a recruiter is evaluating is your hard, technical skills. The other 70%, yep, the massive majority, is all about you. Your mindset, your values, how you reflect on your own experiences, and even how you handle a little bit of discomfort. So, let's dive right into that crucial 70%. In this first part, we're going to explore what a recruiter is truly looking for. You know, the stuff that goes way beyond the lines on your CV.
Look, this is not about reciting some perfect, pre-canned answer you found online. A good recruiter is reading between the lines. They're watching your tone, your expressions, and whether the story you're telling actually lines up with your resume. That's what's persuasive. They're looking for real, authentic you, not a perfect script.
So, how does this actually play out in the interview room? Well, recruiters use different kinds of questions, and each one has a very specific job. Once you understand what's really behind the question, you can give a much more powerful answer. Okay, first up, behavioral questions. These are your classic tell me about a time when prompts. The thinking here is actually super simple and powerful. What you've done in the past is the best clue for what you'll do in the future. They don't want to hear what you would do in theory. They want to know what you actually did. Now, a lot of you have probably heard of the STAR method for answering these: situation, task, action, and result. It's great. But the candidates who really stand out add a fifth, absolutely crucial step: reflection. What did you learn from it? This final R is the secret sauce. It shows you've grown, you're self-aware, and you can turn experience into wisdom. Honestly, it's the step most people completely miss. Next, you've got situational or stress questions. Things like, what would you do if your boss just shot down your best idea? The secret here, the content of your answer isn't really the main point. The recruiter is watching your reaction. Do you get defensive? Do you look flustered? Or do you stay calm and collected? They're testing your emotional maturity when the pressure's on. And you'll notice the focus of these questions changes as you move up the career ladder. For an entry-level job, they're looking for your potential, your curiosity. At the mid-level, it's all about how you adapt and collaborate. But once you get to management, it shifts again. Now it's about leadership and big-picture strategy. The whole interview evolves from a test of what you've done to a real exploration of how you think. Okay, let's get into the part that trips up even the most experienced pros, the so-called trap questions. These are specifically designed to test your composure and your emotional intelligence. Let's break down exactly how to handle them. Ah, the classic. So, why did you leave your last job? The trap here isn't in your reason, it's all in your tone. Even a tiny hint of bitterness or sounding defensive is a major red flag. The smart way to answer is to frame it positively. You can say you completed a professional cycle, you learned a ton, and now you're excited to find a new challenge where you can grow. It's always about the future, not the past. Here's another tricky one. What would make you choose another employer over us? They're testing your loyalty, sure, but also your judgment. If your answer is all about money, you might seem like you'll jump ship for the next highest offer. A much stronger response is to say that you see this as a long-term investment. You're looking for a place with compatible values and projects that really mean something to you. And now for what might be the most dangerous question of all. What didn't you like about your former manager? This is a direct test of your emotional intelligence. Rule number 1, never ever badmouth a former boss. Instead, you frame it elegantly. Talk about different working styles and what you learned from navigating that. Maybe it helped you become more patient or a better communicator. It shows incredible maturity. All right, so we've talked a lot about what you say, but an interview isn't just about your words. Experienced recruiters are picking up on a whole other layer of communication, the stuff that happens without you even speaking.
They notice if you take a second to pause and think before you answer. That's not weakness, it shows you're a critical thinker. They listen to your pronouns. When you talk about team projects, do you say we, showing you're collaborative? Or is it always I? They listen for strong action verbs. I built, I coordinated, which shows ownership. And, crucially, they're watching to see if your emotional state stays consistent and professional throughout the entire conversation.
So, with all of this in mind, what's the absolute best way to prepare? Well, it's not about memorizing answers. It's about building genuine self-awareness. Let's pull this all together into a solid, actionable plan. First, go through your CV. But for each job, don't just ask, "What did I do?" Ask, "What did I learn here?" Next, create a narrative core. Basically, 3 key stories you can adapt. One about a success, one about a challenge, and one about a lesson learned. Then, practice your nonverbals, your tone of voice, and finally, do a little homework. Look up your interviewer on LinkedIn. Knowing their background can really help you connect with them. And please remember this. An interview is a two-way street. The questions you ask at the end are just as important as the answers you give. Asking things like, what are the biggest challenges for this role in the first few months? Or what does excellence look like on this team? Shows you're engaged, you're strategic, and you're already thinking like you're part of the team. So if you take away just one thing, let it be this. A successful interview isn't one with perfect rehearsed lines. It's one with clarity about your own story and the authenticity to communicate it well. Every question, every answer is just a window into how you think. And that leaves us with one final thought for you. When you walk into your next interview, will you see it as a test you have to pass or as a real conversation of value that you get to have? Because that choice right there will make all the difference in the world.